Perfect. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you trickle in, please type your name, school, and district in the chat. I would also ask that if your school's volunteer program or community engagement initiative were a movie or TV show, what would it be? Share those responses with us in the chat, please. We are programmed to begin the webinar in 5 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't had an opportunity yet, please type your name, school, and district in the chat. Additionally, please add the response to this query. If your school's volunteer program or community engagement initiative were a movie or TV show, what would it be? We will begin in about 1 minute. Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Dwayne Gatson. I'm the Director for Student and Community Engagement at the South Carolina Department of Education. If you have not had an opportunity yet, I would ask you to please type your name, school, and district in the chat. If your school's volunteer program or community engagement initiative were a movie or TV show, what would it be? Play the game with us, please. Give us a response in the chat. I see several of you are doing so. Again, we are so happy that you are here for our first school volunteer coordinator training for this school year, 25-26. Let me briefly orient you to the Microsoft webinar that we're working in right now. The control icons will be on the upper right section of your screen for most users. If you haven't yet, please click the mic icon to mute yourself. I believe all of you are automatically muted, and we encourage you to stay muted throughout the presentation, but at the end, we will have a question and answer period, and we will, at that time, open mics for you. We encourage you to utilize the chat throughout this session for any questions you may have during the presentation. Our team will be monitoring the chat and responding accordingly. We will also hold a time again at the end of this discussion so that we can answer any questions that you may have. The purpose of our school volunteer coordinator training is to share the basics of a program that's designed to help connect your districts and schools to the volunteers that are out there in the community. Those, basically, there are volunteers out there that have raised their hands to help you, but what they don't have is a clear roadmap on how to get there. And this office is designed to do just that, to get those resources to you. Let's see what some of your responses are. Barbara Roberts likens her volunteer program or community engagement to The Incredibles. We have Latanya Floyd that says, well, Friends, or maybe even The Neighborhood. The Price is Right is what Sally Starter says. Sounds to me like if if we pay for it, they'll come. Well, we've got some. We can get you volunteers, Sally, if I'm reading that right. Let's see. Do we have any others? Oh my gosh, Lost. Oh, we've got to find those volunteers. The Golden Girls. We've tapped into an older demographic that is extremely lively and somewhat comedic. The 100, I can't even address that. It's probably one of these younger shows. So I'm telling my age. Happy Days. And honestly, that is our goal, folks, to make Happy Days return to you by giving you volunteers. Let's see if I have any more that we can share. Oh my gosh, Field of Dreams. Field of Dreams. That's a good segue into what we're doing today because there are a whole lot of volunteers that are out there in the wait. There are folks out there that want to be volunteers and they don't even know it yet. They just have to catch the wave, and we're going to make sure they catch the wave. Um, Next slide. Yeah, there we go. So again, I'm Dwayne Gatz, and I'm the director of this brand spanking new office called Student and Community Engagement. We were stood up last December. Last December, someone says they want a few good men. It sounds like someone wants some folks to roam the halls and have that male influence in their programs and on their institutions, and we totally get you. But going back to this office, we were stood up with the main purpose of engaging. We want to engage folks with schools, volunteers with schools. We want to engage with schools ourselves to provide you resources. And I'm going to um, introduce you to my team. Mandy Roberts is what we call our care manager. CARE is an acronym for Character and Resilience Education. So Mandy she's the keeper of all those resources I've alluded to, the ones that we're going to put into your hands. Many of them are totally free of charge. All of them happen to be, at least at their inception, free of charge to you. Some of you are already in the Maxwell programs, the iLeads of the world, the Covey programs, the Leader in Me of the world. Some of you have leadership minutes that are being delivered at your K through 6 grades. Many of you should have by now heard of Medal of Honor. If you haven't, I'm telling you that it's for every single body. Mandy, are you on right now? If you are, please say hi to the team. All right. Well, Mandy might not be joining us right now because she's out there again making connections with districts and schools so that we can provide care resources. I would like to also introduce you to who I would call really the lady of the hour. Um, Carla Renfro, Mrs. Carla Renfro is what we call our Project Raise Your Hand Manager. And everything that we talked to today is all about getting folks to raise their hand, be it at the different agency levels throughout government, throughout the state, or out into the communities, identifying what your needs are and getting someone to meet your needs on a volunteer basis. Uh, I will be turning this over to Carla very shortly, but before I do, I want to sort of give you some very basics to give you an appreciation for the overall agency and what we are trying to accomplish at the macro level before we jump into the micro level. So strategically, our plan is to that by 2030, inside 5 years, for at least 75% of all the students to be at or above grade level. And here's how we're doing it. And you see a three-tier process on the next slide that takes us there. So within the department ourselves, what we work on constantly is our 1 year objective, which I'm telling you, we are all over, where we're aligning the culture of the department, the structure of the department, the processes and the communications and all the leader development that we provide from the department with that, with our objectives and the overall goal. So we're working intensely and very intentionally on making sure that we have the foundation to build from. And our 3-year objectives, and I won't go into all 4 of them, but I do want to tap into the bottom 2, as I also let you know that this particular office, the Office of Student and Community Engagement, is interlaced in all objectives. So all of our 3-year objectives run right through this office. We want to elevate the quality and the long-term effectiveness of schools, particularly of schools and districts. And what you're going to see a lot of that from what we're doing and how we're partnering with you to get you what you need. And we want to engage and empower the families and the community partners to advance the success of students. And we have some very creative ways to make all that happen. And we're going to talk to a lot of that going forward, and definitely in the weeks to come. Next slide. So with that said, I'm going to sort of regauge, and I'm going to ask Mrs. Carla Renfro, again, our Project Raise Your Hand manager, to come on board. And Carla, as you come on board, please let them know what your movie is and why you chose that particular movie.
I will. Good morning, everybody. As Dr. Gatson said, my name is Carla Renfro, and I thank him for leading us down this road of standing up Project Raise Your Hand as our community engagement initiative at the South Carolina Department of Education. We thank you for your leadership, Dr. Gatson, and can't wait to see what happens in the future with all the wonderful volunteers we're going to have. I chose for my TV show, and I am telling my age as well, I chose the Waltons. And I say that because the district that I grew up in, I'm now at the SCDE. I had a couple of other choices for some of the districts where I work, but the district where I grew up was a family. And it was one of those things where if somebody had a need, somebody was there to meet it. And so to me, the Waltons was one of those warm and fuzzy kind of places, kind of TV shows that I loved growing up. And so that's the one I thought of. And I have to give a shout out. That was Florence 3 is where I grew up. And so if you're from Florence 3, good job. I hope that's still the way you feel. As we go over or go through the rest of the program, the webinar today, please feel free to add questions in the chat. As Dr. Gatson's already alluded to, this is our very first webinar. We've done some Teams meetings, but we've not done a webinar yet. Y'all are getting to be the first folks that we do that with. And so some of this is trial and error on our part, but we really want to answer any of the questions that you might have as we go forward. The agenda we're going to follow today is very simple, just an overview, the basics of the program, volunteer sign up in Project Raise Your Hand, the district requirements, those unique processes and different expectations that some of you may have, and then the district and the state requirement, as well as at the very end, we just kind of want to encapsulate, if you will, the things that we're asking of you as the volunteer coordinator for your school. If I had to tell you, or like we kind of said already, Project Raise Your Hand is a way to involve the community in what you do. And we like to say that it gives concrete opportunities to volunteers and organizations who wish to support students in preparing for their future success. We like to say in simple terms that we are the connector between supply and demand. The supply being those community members and organizations who want to help local schools. The superintendent says everywhere she goes, people are saying, how can I help? What can I do to help? The demand being those schools and students and teachers who need the help. We feel like we have a place at the table to try to help connect supply and demand when it comes to community involvement and community engagement. And that's what we want to do. We really want to serve you by helping you be able to connect to some of these volunteers who would like to serve you. The program, the pilot, launched by the South Carolina Department of Education. It launched in the spring of 2024, and we have successfully served Midland schools for 3 semesters. We now want to expand that initiative statewide so that students and teachers and families all over the state can benefit. And so we can start building a network of volunteers and organizations from which to draw. We have on here our Project Raise Your Hand website address. Feel free to go to that address and look at what's on there. We have anything from some program videos, some toolkits of best practices. We have additional information. We have a couple of words from our superintendent about the project. But we also are going to have a very easy way for you, not for you, but for others who want to serve you, to get involved and to sign up on that website. So just know that that's our goal, is to serve you through this entire project.
Carla, let me interject something real quick,
Yes.
please.
Yes.
As I go through the chat, I notice some of you are having sound issues where it's waning in and out. We're going to take a 20-second pause. Why don't you, it's 115 of you on here, which is beautiful. Why don't you jump out real quick and come right back, and let's see if that remedies the situation for the few of you, okay?
Great idea.
Thank you. I would also like to let you all know that this is being recorded, so there will be a recording with captions that will be posted on our YouTube channel. We'll be sending you a link shortly following the webinar today, okay? All right, Carla, I don't know what happened, but we jumped from 114 to 118, so let's go.
That's great. We love it.
Go. Yeah.
I am sorry for those of you who are having sound issues. It looks like most of you are not. We will certainly just investigate and see if there's anything on our end. You may want to do the same on your end just to make sure. Of course, if you have any other webinars coming up. Here are the Project Raise Your Hand basics, if you will. Schools identify their volunteer needs. And let me pause right here to say, many of you have already filled out a survey that tells us what your needs are at your school, at the school level. If you have not done that, we will certainly provide you with that link to be able to go in and let us know what your individual needs are, because as you know, we're trying to connect the supply and the demand. But the first thing that happens, of course, is that schools identify their needs. Volunteers register their preferences and their availability and their interests. Matching is done based on the needs that you identify and, of course, the preferences that the volunteers have. And once a match is confirmed, and of course, once the volunteer has been properly vetted through you, then you and the volunteer coordinate the details and the start date of their service. We do ask that feedback, that you give us feedback and that the volunteer gives us feedback after each session, because we want this to be a positive experience for you and for the volunteers, and we want it to really impact you. Okay, you say, I've seen the basics, but how do volunteers go from actually signing up to making it to my district and my school? And those are great questions. Here's how somebody becomes a Project Raise Your Hand volunteer using 4 simple steps. And again, let me pause and say, we know that you already have volunteers coming into your schools, and that is awesome. We do not at all want to discourage that. We want to encourage that. As a matter of fact, we would love for those volunteers to come along and join us with Project Raise Your Hand so we can actually get an even better picture of how you're being served in your communities. But the 4 processes or the 4 steps rather that we use are: first, potential volunteers sign up, they complete the required district background check, and then they follow whatever other instructions you might have to onboard as a volunteer in your district, and then of course in your school. Step 2, those volunteers or potential volunteers are matched with you, with the school, to serve, but of course only after they have been properly vetted. Step 3, they serve in your school based on your needs and based on their preferences. And of course, the school level volunteer coordinators, that's who you are, must confirm that service arrangement with the volunteers so they know when to come, what day to come, whose room they're going to be in, what their task is going to be. And they also need to know, of course, their what their preferred or what their start day is going to be. And so that's going to be information that you and the volunteer come up with on your own. You're going to also let us know about that information so we can help monitor that and facilitate that as well. But the volunteers can participate in ongoing sessions, like they could be somebody that comes every week to Ms. Smith's class at 2 o'clock on Tuesdays, or they have the option to just come to a special event. Maybe there's a Muffins for Mom event that you're having at your school and somebody signs up just to do that one event. Whatever their preferences are, we want to connect them with you. And of course, we have a lot of businesses who want to also participate, and they sometimes want to donate anything from money to teacher gifts, or they want to have a certain number of their employees who go and volunteer as well. But service can be in a lot of different ways, but we're going to lean on you to really help us make the most of those matches. And let me also say right here, it is not lost on us. We know that many of you are wearing lots and lots of hats, and we just want to thank you for what you're already doing. All 3 of us, Dr. Gatson, Mandy, and I, we were all in the classroom at some point. So we understand that there are so many demands, not only of teachers, but of administrators and all the school personnel. So we appreciate deeply from the bottom of our heart that you're willing to put this hat on as well to help your students and your teachers and your communities. But after that service, step 4 is that we just ask that you submit feedback to us after every service. And I know that seems like a lot. It does, we're going to have a formal form that we're going to give you. And of course, we would love for every single feedback to be recorded on the form. But we also know that sometimes it's just a matter of saying, we had great participation this week, and with the 4 volunteers who came, here they are, yada, yada, yada. So it can be informal. What we want to do, though, is just make sure we're getting feedback from you so we know what needs to improve. We know how to assess the impact. We know if there are any issues that need to be addressed. So that's just for a volunteer who comes through our program, Project Raise Your Hand. 4 simple steps to get plugged in to be a volunteer. As you know, every South Carolina public school district has a unique process. And let me back up and say also our charter school districts. Okay, every single one has a unique process for onboarding volunteers, and you each have different expectations for what that volunteer engagement is going to look like. I would submit to you that even within a district, certain schools have additional requirements or additional expectations for visitors who come into their school. So we know there's a lot of variety here. And when you think about it, we have 72 traditional public school districts in South Carolina. We have obviously, I can't remember, 12, 14, 18, something like that, charter school districts as well. But that means we have 72 plus different processes, and we have 72 plus sets of expectations statewide for how to get those volunteers plugged in and serving in your districts. That's a lot of differences, but we think it shows the strength of the system that we have in South Carolina, which is local control. You're able to control what goes on in your local district and in your local school. You know what works in your area better than we do. And so again, we're going to be leaning on you to help make sure all the volunteers and all the processes that are going on are what really work well for you. We're going to also just say, if you know that what you do is being done well in your district or your school, we would love to know it. We would love for you to share it with us and share it with your fellow school volunteer coordinators, because sometimes there may be a district out there that this is kind of new for them. Maybe they've not had a lot of community engagement. They've really not had anybody to come along and push it. They may really benefit from your saying, well, this was best practice for us. This helped us a lot. So please don't be shy about sharing with us what really, really works in your district. We also want to just, again, make a plug for our website, projectraiseyourhand.com. That's where we're going to actually be featuring some of you as we go along, what the good things that are going on in your district, how you're making it happen. So please don't be shy about keeping us up to date on what's going on there, and just know we celebrate the successes with you as they're going along. Did you want to say anything, Dr. Gatson, about that?
No, you're fine. I'll pick up at the end.
Okay. All right. Regina, if you don't mind, do you mind hanging on until we get to the very end? I would love to hear what your question is, though. We're almost finished, I promise. While district requirements, of course, differ, they vary for volunteering. There is, per South Carolina law, there is a common requirement that has to be done. And of course, every district must perform a national sex offender registry background check on all volunteers who have direct contact with students. I feel confident that your district already knows this. You're already doing this. You've already got your process set up where you're vetting your volunteers through this. But this is the commonality for us all. Everybody has to do this particular background check. However, some of your districts require additional background checks. You may do a criminal background check that searches the entire country, or just searches what's going on in South Carolina. Each one of you does it differently, and that's okay. Each one of you has a different onboarding procedure for those volunteers, but we just want you to know that we understand that it's different for every district. Your district's volunteer coordinator and your district's volunteer processes are listed in a document that we have here. And we have made this document available to your district volunteer coordinators, because we want to make sure, first and foremost, that we have the correct person tagged as your district's volunteer coordinator. And of course, we want to make sure we have the correct processes to pass on to volunteers who say they want to help in your particular school. So we ask districts to send in corrections. You may see something on here that go, I know that's wrong. Just understand, I have not updated this this picture of the document, but the document is a work in progress, and it is being updated as we get information. If you happen to see mistakes, please feel free to send those corrections to us. Those corrections can go to PRYH, that stands for Project Raise Your Hand, PRYH at ed.sc.gov. We really want to get those corrected in your hands so that and know that we have the right information to give volunteers as well as they are coming through to serve your districts and your schools. Okay, I told you early on we had sort of a form or a chart that has what we kind of expect of you as a school volunteer coordinator. And this is the gist of what we're asking you to do so that you can manage those volunteer processes at the school level. There are some districts, and you may be one, where every volunteer coordinator decision or every volunteer decision is made at the district level. And if that's the case, then obviously you're going to defer to your district for some of that. But for most of you, we're looking to you to manage this process and manage the volunteers like you're probably already doing. But to do that at the school level. And remember that the volunteers probably won't know what the next steps are unless one of us tells them. And you are probably going to be the best person to tell them, okay, you've done the background check. Now we need for you to come and do the training that our school requires. Whatever it is that you need, just know that the volunteers may very well not know what the next step is unless you tell them what it is. The first thing I want you to see is that we're asking you to keep us updated. Update the South Carolina Department of Education, specifically our office, with current volunteer coordinator information. If you know that your district volunteer coordinator has changed, we may not know that. So we would greatly appreciate if you would just shoot us an email and say, you may not know, but our district volunteer coordinator is now in another district. That person has been replaced by, Susie Smith, and here's her contact information. We would really, really appreciate that. And of course, we would love to also, we really need to know the correct information for your particular school. And so the school volunteer coordinators' names and contact information is of paramount importance as well. Lastly, we mentioned this earlier, but the school surveys, the school needs surveys are one of those things that we rely on heavily in order to actually connect the supply and the demand like we've talked about doing. So the first thing we ask of you is that you keep us updated. The second is background checks. When a volunteer signs up and requests your school, you will receive notice that he or she has done that. Okay. And as the volunteer navigates through that background check process, we're asking you to kind of help make sure those applications don't get stuck somewhere in the system. And of course, we'd like for you to let us know, of course, when that background check has been completed. They've either been approved or they've been disapproved. We would really appreciate your letting us know via email. We cannot go forward with matching a volunteer in your school unless we know they have been vetted completely by your district and that their background check has been approved. So that is a key thing for us. The third thing is we know that there are additional requirements that your district may require. And so we are looking to you to, efficiently manage those other requirements. Maybe it's training for how the third grade teachers want you to help with small groups. Or maybe it's, just showing up and letting them show you around the school. Whatever it is that you need to do with those volunteers, we're asking that you as the volunteer coordinator, of course, manage that. And one thing we also mentioned is that we would just encourage you to look at your additional onboarding requirements, and just make sure that they encourage participation instead of discourage it for the volunteer. You don't want to have so many extra requirements that volunteers go, there's no way I can do all that. I'll just won't be able to volunteer. We want to encourage it. Obviously, we want our school safe. So we've got to vet our volunteers. We want to make sure that they are the kind of people we want around our children. But besides that, we just don't want to discourage them with too many restrictive kinds of requirements for them. And then we also, of course, ask that you confirm the details, promptly communicate the service details and the start date with both the volunteer in your school and with us. And we will be sending a form for you to use. But again, if the form feels too formal and you just want to shoot us an email, we're okay with that. But we do need to know from you and the volunteer that, okay, this is what we've decided on, and this is the date we've decided, so that we can manage it in our system as well. Okay. Again, this particular process is sometimes done at the district level. So if that's the case, then the district coordinator would be the one to confirm those details to us, more than likely. But just know we would really appreciate knowing when the start date is and what the service details are. And then finally, we're asking you to report back to us, just brief us on what that volunteer experience was like. We will also be sending out an end of the year survey, and we would ask you and or the district coordinator just to let us know, even over the course of the school year, what it was like. Was it a help to you? Was it a value add to you? That's what our goal is. We really want it to be something that that helps you, not an extra burden for you or for the school. That's the goal.
Carla, before you leave that,
Yes.
Let me just, this is a very, very important sequence. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands where you fit in and where your district fits in. So if you're looking at it from left to right, it's clear that we have to have the most accurate information, but you don't own all that. The district has to do their part too. So between you and us is the district. So it would be very important, I think, for you to know who your district volunteer coordinator is, because you may want to ask them the status of a background check, for instance. As a school volunteer, it's very important for you to keep that information accurate too. Now, we know that this initiative does not predate the fact that you have volunteers that already come to your school. So we would encourage you to get those volunteers that already come to your school into the formal system as well, okay? Because overall, we want to be able to track all volunteers. And I know many of your districts, and I would think that all of them will catch on, but many of your districts were already talking about incentivizing this program at their level. So they're going to want to know exactly what you have going on. And the system that we have working behind the scenes will help do that. And before we get out of that first block on the left, the school needs surveys. We understand well, two things. The need to just submit something. Some of you may have gotten caught up in that loop because we kept asking for information, asking for information, asking for information. So you may not have put as much thought into your school needs surveys. So just update it. But even more importantly, as your needs evolve, update it. As you realize that, wow, this other district told me that they have, these types of needs being addressed. We didn't ask for this type of need. Let us ask for that too. So, we want to constantly meet you at your needs. Okay, so the other thing to keep in mind is it's not just us looking at this. all those volunteers that decide to play, the nonprofits, the churches, et cetera, all those folks will have visibility on what you're asking. So if they have a specialty, they know where they could land because they're going to be looking at what you're saying is a need. And of course, the timely process, we don't want to, which is your second block, we don't want to discourage anyone by the process taking too long, by all means, okay? And once you get them in the system, you got them in the system and you're rocking and rolling, so it's a beautiful thing. As you go on to onboarding, I think I don't know if there's any other thing that I can underscore that Carla didn't already, and to just keep communicating to us as we go through. And the report, well, let me stay on communication. If you have a big event, for instance, that's happening, we would love to hear about it in advance. If you're having a major need for a big event, well, maybe we can also get some coverage out there and actually, get it advertised a little bit and get you some coverage. We want to catch folks doing what's right, and what's right is helping you. What's right is getting us to our goals. What's right is getting these kids to matriculate through the system and be successful. So just keep all that in mind as you go through this process, okay? Thank you, Carla.
Thank you, Dr. Gatson. I'm going to pause here just to say, if you're looking at the chat, you see that several people have asked, how do I know if my school needs survey has been completed? Does my district coordinator know that? They should know that. That would be the first person I would start with, is ask them if they know. The ones who've joined us for district volunteer coordinator training have received a list of the schools that I had to date. And they should be able to confirm that. If you really don't know, send me an email and I am happy to check for you. Obviously, we have 1,320 schools or 1,360 schools throughout South Carolina. So if all of them ask me instead of the volunteer coordinator, it might be a little while before I get the answer to you.
Carla, let me address it even a little slightly different, because that was definitely our response to the, districts wanted to know who was delinquent, okay, who had not submitted a survey yet at the school level. And we shared input with them, okay? But now as a school volunteer, if you're asking, well, how do you know if you've submitted? That's probably a key indicator that you haven't, okay? Because you would have been the one that was filling it out, or your predecessor. And if you were just thrown into this thing, that probably tells you that there was nobody before you, so it hasn't been done. But the bottom line is we'll provide you all that information so that you can see. We don't encourage a district to fill out your survey. Nobody knows what your needs are better than you are. I think they shortchange you, quite frankly, not intentionally, but just because you are the ones on the ground. You're the ones closest to what your needs are and your desires are. So if you're asking that question, it might even behoove you to just fill out another one from scratch because you want to start out with something clean that you're aware of.
Yes, that certainly works as well. And
you see Radira Abru?
Yes.
We're here for you. We are not going to leave anybody behind. If you're new to this, we are here for you. We will walk you along as much as you feel you need to. We will guide you. We will love on you. We will come to your school. You tell us what you need. Pick up the phone, call us, email us. We'll set up a one-on-one call. You name it, we'll do it. We just want this to be accurate. We don't want this to be something that's cumbersome to you. This is something that should be a value added to you, not a liability.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you for making that clear, because that's exactly right. If we are trying to help you, the last thing you want is one more thing to do. And if we're not really helping you, then it's just one more box to check. And again, we were teachers. We understand that sometimes that's what you feel like you're doing. And we don't want that. We want it to truly be something that can help you. So thank you for making that clear, Dr. Gatson.
Carla, before you go on, and I'll let you have stab at this. Renee Jeffcoat asks, how often do the background checks need to be done?
We have not said, we've actually talked about that. We've talked about yearly, and we've talked about why not just whenever your needs have changed. And so we haven't set a time. I would think that at least yearly you would want to go back and look at what you've put down and update us. But I would say if you submitted something today and next week you realize, oh my word, I submitted for that, but we really have a need for this, feel free to update us. We want to keep, we want it as current as we can get it. So, but that is a great question. And oh, I'm so sorry. Background checks. I thought you were talking student needs. My fault.
Yeah, I was
My
wondering
fault.
where you're going. So the question is, how often do the background checks need to be done? You should have picked up on when Carla was talking background checks. She directed you to the district, to the district, to the district. It's very important that your district answer that question. Okay, your district is going to be the one that tells you if there's a frequency beyond,
Right.
A year, 2 years, whatever. Okay, and the background checks, and let me sort of go down that hole real quick. The background checks is one thing where it's a non-negotiable. Everybody has to have a background check. Okay, so I know we showed you that slide with that, and we showed you the fact that, or emphasized, should I say, that there are different places to give background checks. But the bottom line is, as part of that background checks, you definitely need to go through one that identifies sex offenders. Okay, so that's the main piece of the background check that, again, has to be done. So now that said, someone may go through a background check, they may serve in your school, and get down there and then just not work out for you. Okay, and that's not even to say they did something that was criminal per se, but they didn't meet your need. They got down there and they were lackadaisical. They weren't a value to you. They were a liability. We want to know that, okay? And the reason why we want to know that is two things are needing to happen. Number one, you need to make sure that they don't come again in your organization, and I would even say as your district, so you need to let your district know, or at least warn them so that they can make decisions with eyes wide open, because that's what we're going to do if they navigate to another district. We want to be able to tell another district, hey, I just want you to know that they volunteered in a different role in a different district, and it didn't work out because, okay, just so you know. They passed the background check and everything, but it just didn't work out. So just understand that as you're going in, and I think we owe it to each other to share that type of information with one another.
Yes, I agree, Dr. Gatson. And let me back up and say,
oh, that's good. Did you see Sandra's in the so Sandra McCann in her district, it expires after 1 year. So. Okay. So that's probably a good guide to go by, but I would still check with my district to see, how good it, how long is good for.
Some of our districts here in the Midlands, I have done background checks in 3 of those Midlands districts where we've served. And for one, it's a 2-year, you're approved for 2 years. For the other 2, it's 3 years. And then I'm seeing that a lot of y'all it's 1 year. So that there's a lot of variation there. but that is a great rule of thumb. You can always tell, ask your district volunteer coordinator what your district's requirement is. And let me just back up. I thought the question the question that y'all had was about how often do we need the needs surveys? And my point with that is just whenever you have a new need, feel free to update us with what that is. Okay. Oh, and I see that one county it's 5 years, so one is 3 years. So it does the time frame for how often you're going to need to get that background check done on all the volunteers will vary. So thank you. And then the last slide that I have to show you is about 2 dates that we're highlighting. October 15th, which is tomorrow, and October 30th. October 15th is the date that we are allowing our department employees, South Carolina Department of Ed employees, to sign up to serve in a district, in a school. And so we wanted you to be prepared in case one of our SCDE employees put your district and your school down potentially as their preferred district and school. Because once somebody marks your school or your district as their preferred school or district, that's when you will get some communication from us, and that's what starts the process on your end. So we just wanted you to be aware that that's happening. It's sort of it's for real starting tomorrow, but it's also a way for us to test this new management system that we have. It's a new CRM for us to see how it's going, but we are opening it up to all of our SCDE employees tomorrow. Most of our employees, of course, live and work here in the Midlands, and so there are a lot of Midlands districts that can benefit from their service. But we also have a good many employees who live all over the state. And so those employees also want to go to their grandchild's school or their daughter or son's school or a school where their children grew up. And so we want to give them that opportunity as well. So just know that as of tomorrow afternoon, you may start seeing some signups or you may start seeing some communication from us. And then October 30th is another important date for us because that's when we open up signups to community volunteers. And that's going to be opened up, of course, through our updated website that I mentioned earlier. And community organizations like our faith community, business community, nonprofits, all kinds of other groups that want to serve are going to be able to go on and sign up to come help you. And again, once someone marks your district or your school as the place they want to serve, we're going to notify you of that and hopefully start the whole process. And so we wanted you to know about those 2 dates. Those are really the only that's the last thing I wanted to share with you. I know some of you had questions, and we'll address any questions that you may have. I think Regina had one earlier. I don't know if she still has that question, but we were happy to try to address it. All right, and let's see, it's Lisa. Lisa, you have your hand raised. Let me say this. Apparently on the webinar, I'm not able to unmute you as I thought I was. Let me see. I should be able to, I think. No. Is it possible? There we go. No.
Can somebody unmute and just say something, please?
I don't think they're able to. I think those were the parameters for the.
I just want to give them an opportunity. Lisa, do you still have a question? If you do, please put it in the chat.
Okay, I figured out how to unmute it.
There you
Perfect.
go.
Yay.
My question is there going to be like advertisement? Are we going to send this out so the community knows about this, or how is the word going to get out?
Yeah, we are already doing that. We already, your community members out there, we call them strike force members, okay? So we're reaching out to organizations and we're already doing some vetting, some recruiting based on some needs that we already have, and we're developing the group already. But we always encourage you, if you have some folks out there, let them know. If you have some organizations out there that you want us to reach out to that you don't think have been reached out that we've gotten a hold of yet, then pass us that name or that group. But yeah, we're putting that into the community already.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Excellent question. Anybody else? Well,
All right.
Carla, I think we
Well,
can close this.
I think we can. I think we can get back to the screen here. Sorry about it, y'all.
Oh,
Hey,
um,
there we
they
go.
wanted to know the email address. Can you give them the Project Raise Your Hand address again?
Yes, PR. Let me put it in the
Yeah,
chat.
there you go.
PRYH@ed.sc.gov.
And Sandra, we're going to send you that. The survey will be sent to all of you, so that if you want to redo it, by all means you can. So you'll get that link. You're
We
welcome.
just want to thank y'all for your participation today. This has been awesome, and I see your question, Regina. Is there a flyer I can provide to my future volunteers? We are working on that. Believe it or not, we are in the process of working on getting some materials. So yes, we would love for you to share it with your PTO, all of those avenues where you would normally solicit volunteers, go for it. And as soon as we can get the marketing materials completed that we would like to have, we will pass those on to you. So that's a great suggestion as well, and something that we really have been working on. Any other questions before we close out? Well, thank you again. Does each district have a specific point of contact with Project Raise Your Hand? Yes, they do. And that person is called the District Volunteer Coordinator. And we only had about 4 or 5 districts that we had trouble, that we didn't actually get a specific name, but we're pretty sure we've tagged the right person. So start with your district and ask them who the volunteer coordinator is, and they should be able to tell you.
Sam, if she didn't answer your question, I'm reading it a little differently. Does each district have a specific point of contact with Project Raise Your Hand? We are. We're the district contact. So the district would report to us, would reach out to us. So that email that you have would come right to us. And again, Carla Renfro, who conducted this webinar, is your manager or the manager for the entire state.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. And again, just know how much we appreciate you.
Yeah, and feel free to disengage if you want. Jennifer Long, don't run away. At the high school level, we don't have a need for many volunteers in the building. Does this include outside volunteers, such as band helpers? Again, what are your needs? Lay out your needs. And understand the full gamut of volunteers. You have some folks from this agency who volunteer in the morning at schools just to help with the carpool. You have some that come during lunchtime that relieve folks of their lunch duty so that they can actually have lunch. You have some that help in the hallways as monitors to bear down on that. So, again, identify your needs and let us see what we can do. We don't know your needs, so we don't really know the best way to address you. I'd keep it open and think outside the box a little. But thank you all for your questions. Thank you for your time. And thank you
Yes.
for your energy. You've excited me. So
Yes.
this is fantastic. Keep the
Yes, it
spirit,
is.
keep the faith, and we look forward to seeing you out throughout the state. Take care.
Bye-bye.